Oh boy, man, this is a great conversation to be having, especially if you're a fan of the Columbus Blue Jackets, because baby, okay, if you're a fan of the Blue Jackets, you're probably not cheering for the Canadian squad at the World Juniors. You probably saw yesterday's performance of Logan Cooley for Team USA and saw him try to do the Michigan, and you're like, oh, that's a cool move, but it didn't work. America, heck yeah. But you know what? If you're a Blue Jackets fan, there is so much more to be excited for than just your World Juniors prospects for Team USA, because man, when it comes to Kent Johnson, this is a guy that I feel like we need to be talking about a lot more. And it's super unfortunate, I feel, that Columbus gets the short end of the stick once in a while when it comes to hyping up prospects and talking about players, talking about teams and everything. I know you guys got a huge surge of news after Johnny Gaudreau signed with you, but this Kent Johnson kid, boy oh boy, I want to talk about him here today, because yesterday for Team Canada against Czechia, he scored his first goal of the World Juniors this year. Okay, that's kind of a lie. He scored one goal in the 2-game sample he had back in January, but that doesn't count anymore. We have ourselves what was Kent Johnson heading into this game against Team Czechia with 2 games played and 1 assist in total. That's it. You had yourselves that stomping of Team Slovakia earlier in the tournament, and Kent Johnson was not able to go out there and light the lamp as much as he probably would have wanted to. This is a player that was drafted by the Columbus Blue Jackets in the 5th overall spot in the 2021 draft, 19 years old, from Port Moody, BC, 6'1", 168, as a left-handed center. I was always super familiar with Johnson because playing for the Trail Smoke Eaters in the BCHL, he was an absolute wizard, probably the player with the most skilled hands of the entire draft. And in his draft season with the Michigan Wolverines, where he was over a point per game, we saw those skills come to fruition tenfold as well. Now, that wasn't really a pattern that we ended up losing out on as the year went on, because after Kent Johnson was drafted, he played back in Michigan. He was still really good, over a point per game once again. He showed off his crazy dangles, his crazy puck skills, his crazy offensive IQ, and his ability to just turn heads with very intricate, nifty little passes through his legs, nice little dekes to get by guys, and just the overall mindset to try to play the game of hockey as if he was a character from NHL 22 with the puck on a string X Factor attached to him. He just goes out there and he dangles. It's crazy. And so, heading into the World Juniors, a lot of people were going out there and conversing about Michigan. Not the Michigan school that Kent Johnson went to, but the Michigan move. The Michigan goal, where a guy would come behind the net, scoop the puck up on his stick, and wrap it around lacrosse style. A lot of people were going out there on TSN saying that, hey, Kent Johnson is probably the guy that is most likely going to do it first. Now, that didn't happen because Logan Cooley attempted it earlier in the day for Team USA. It didn't work. And so next up, it's Team Canada. They give up a shorthanded goal to Team Czechia on a 5-minute man advantage major power play. It's 1-0 Czechia. Canada does not look good at the start of this first period. Eventually, they tie it up off of Mason McTavish's knee. And then, a few minutes later, it's Kent Johnson who picks the puck up behind the net. It's a scrambled, loose play from the Canadian forward that took a shot, and then Johnson wraps it around, does a perfectly executed Michigan move up into the open side of the goal. He does an amazing celly afterwards, too. That's his first goal of the tournament. Imagine that, being snake-bitten for 2 games straight. It's your 3rd game, your team is not playing all too well to kick things off, and you decide, hey, high-pressure situation. We just tied the game up 1-1. We couldn't score on a 5-man advantage. Screw that. I'm going out there and I'm doing a Michigan right here, baby. And he does it perfectly. This was the 4th? 5th? Something like that. He's scored at least 4 Michigan goals in the past, and he said that this one was the best one so far. Maybe not necessarily because of the skill attached to it, but because of the moment as well. World Juniors, playing for your country. We had seen the World Junior Michigan done a few times. We saw Nils Höglander do it for Team Sweden, and there were a few others thrown in there as well, so it's pretty nice to see the move pop itself up once in a while. But for Kent Johnson, this is just such a testament to the skills, the audacity, the puck handling ability. This is an absolute skilled wizard at the sport of hockey. And he had 3 points in 9 games this previous season for Columbus in a little show-me tryout deal. Now, he's already signed, so he's going to play either in Columbus or in the AHL next season, but I have every reason to believe that for Kent Johnson and the skills that he possesses, playing in Columbus is going to be probably the next destination here. And it's kind of wild, because hey, as we noted, Columbus, even though you guys don't really get too much conversations going on with your team, the ones that do pop up are normally pretty big. Whether it's Patrick Laine trade rumors, or Pierre-Luc Dubois trade conversations, or Panarin leaving, or Bobrovsky and all that stuff, the big one recently was Johnny Gaudreau. And when I think about a player that can probably go out there and give Kent Johnson the best mentorship possible, Johnny Gaudreau is right up there at the top of my list. Now, sure, I get it. These two guys are not the same type of player. Kent Johnson's a lot bigger, Gaudreau's a lot smaller, Gaudreau's a lot more finesse, he's a lot more quick and skilled and agile. Kent Johnson loves to hold onto the puck, and he sometimes likes to force those crazy dangles and those crazy puck skill opportunities, but when it comes to the alignment of styles here, I feel like if Johnny Gaudreau could go out there in a few practices once in a while and tell Kent Johnson, hey, you know that move that you try to do when you try to cut into the side and get by a guy? Try to do this little move instead, because it forces the defender's body weight to go to the opposite side, opening up some more room, etc., etc. I feel like Johnny Gaudreau, who is already such a pristine, franchise-caliber talent for the Columbus Blue Jackets with his puck skills and offensive IQ, is going to be the perfect mentor for Kent Johnson. And if Johnson could even follow in the same footsteps as Johnny Gaudreau, there's no telling what the ceiling is for this 5th overall player right here. I think if everything goes right, you could realistically see Kent Johnson be a 90-95 point player at the National Hockey League level as soon as he hits 23, 24 years old. I mean, he's only 19 right now, and he's already going out there producing the lights out and doing these crazy things. He's just got to go out there and work on everything else around his game, his off-puck play, his off-puck positioning, his evasion and transition game as well, because when Kent Johnson has the puck in the offensive zone and he's able to do some magic with it, that's why he went 5th overall in the draft. That's why he was so highly touted ever since he was in the BCHL, because he's so talented at creating offense and putting up points on the board. Sure, he might not be the best player off the puck, but he's got a whole career's worth of time to work on that. And so with guys like Johnny Gaudreau in the system, Jakub Voracek in there as well, I definitely do think that Kent Johnson is going to get a lot of mentorship and be put in the best position to work on the things that make him so good and expand that skill set. This guy can pull off a Michigan in the first season's worth of play like Trevor Zegras did against Montreal. Like, I really would not be surprised, you know? Trevor Zegras came into the NHL and just took things over with his puck skills, his dangling, his Michigan goals. I really do feel like in my mind, Kent Johnson is sort of in that same mold, but he has the audacity to maybe try a few bigger and bolder moves than Zegras, which is kind of crazy because Zegras in and of itself is already a very bold hockey player with the way that he plays the game. But either way, Columbus fans, talk to me in the comments on your thoughts about Kent Johnson and his performance yesterday. He also had an assist, by the way. He was in the corner chasing after a loose puck, and he threw it out to the slot where Tyson Forrester, Philadelphia Flyers prospect, hammered it home, making it, I believe it was like 5-1 or whatever it was. So Kent Johnson with 2 points yesterday ends up making his point per game total on the World Juniors this season so far up at an equal 1. 3 points, 3 games played. He had 1 point in the previous 2 games, so now he's up at an equal 1 for 1. Talk in the comments on your thoughts about Johnny Gaudreau and how you think Gaudreau will go out there and influence this player. Do you think that their chemistry and their puck dangling abilities will translate into making some very good highlights right away, or do you think it's going to be a few years of Johnny Gaudreau and Kent Johnson together before we actually see some magic? As I said, man, I've been a fan of Kent Johnson for years. He was a BCHL prodigy, and I was a guy that, you know, watching the local BCHL hockey scene, PJHL, Junior A, Junior B, etc., it's really difficult to ignore when a guy that was that young was able to do the things that he was able to do in that league, especially now that he's a top 5 pick in the NHL draft. So, talk in the comments on your thoughts about Johnson, Gaudreau, the World Juniors, etc., etc. I hope you enjoyed this Juraj 99, and bye.